Well, we're changing gears now to another topic entirely, but maybe not totally unrelated with our earlier topic. We're going to be talking about whether or not we need a constitution, because you do remember the strong statement of Senator Adeyeye, who says that this constitution cannot deliver on giving us the peace and security which we desire. And we also will also ask about the president's private visit. I mean, some people will ask if the president can actually leave the country on a private visit, without transmitting his powers. We have two legal practitioners in the house to weigh in on this. Mr. Daniel Buala is at my extreme right. He's a legal practitioner and also a member of Lincoln's Inn London. We also have with us in the studio Mr. Emmanuel Anene, who is a legal practitioner as well. Gentlemen, welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell us, let me ask you your immediate thoughts on, one, the president's trip before I bring you to Senator Adeye's comments.
Yeah, if you look at Section 145 of the Constitution, it provides that if president proceeds on vacation or by any reason is unable to perform the functions assigned to his office, he shall transmit written declaration to the president of the Senate to the extent that he is unable to perform the functions of his office. And unless and until he transmits another contrary written declaration, the vice president shall act in his stead. Then subsection 2 of section 145 says that if the president fails, neglects to transmit such letter to the Senate or the National Assembly, after 21 days, the Senate by the National Assembly, that is House of Representatives, and Senate by resolution supported by simple majority, shall mandate the vice president to act instead. Now, Mr. President is embarking on foreign trip. They call it personal visit for 10 working days. And no such letter was transmitted to the National Assembly to the best of our knowledge. Now, even if they say it is 10 days, there is no doubt that the workings of the government, the governance will suffer by reason of that non-transmission, because the vice president, the vice president as it is now, cannot act as an acting president because there was no transmission of that letter to the National Assembly, and 21 days has not elapsed. So what happens between now and 10 days is that a vacuum is created in the governance. A serious vacuum is created because they will tell you, oh, in America, president can, like Andoka said during the time of Yaradua, that Mr. President can operate from anywhere. Now, an American president can operate from anywhere because they're operating a digital system. Nigerian presidents cannot operate anywhere in the world because what we're operating here is an analog. The Mr. President deals with files, physical files. That was what we were told.
If we have gone digital?
We will not go digital because...
how do you know that?
No. The minister told us at a point that Mr. President will be treating files from his home.
Okay, let me tell you something.
He will be treating files from his home.
I don't think it is impossible that, we've gone digital. I remember it was sometime, I can't quite remember, I think it was when the governor of Akwa Ibom State, when the senator from Akwa Ibom State now, Godswill Akpabio, was in as governor of Akwa Ibom State, he said that he could have his conference with his commissioners anywhere he was in the world, and he showed us facilities for that. Do you think that a federal government cannot put such a system in place?
I'm not gesticulating. I'm telling you as a matter of certainty that we're operating an analog system.
But you're not a minister in that government.
We are president. If you see how we do, they do their Federal Executive Council meeting, it's not written, it's all in analog. They submit physical files to the president for treatment, for his assent. Even the bills passed by the National Assembly is transmitted to the president in physical file. So if anybody is telling you that Mr. President
some people might argue that is symbolic.
It's not, but some people argue
it's
about the certainty of the process.
Okay.
What we are operating is an analog system, and believe you me that the governance will suffer within these 10 days. If Mr. President comes back within the 10 days, if Mr. President did not come within the 10 days, then we are in for another constitutional crisis.
What do you make of it? Do you agree with him?
No, I don't. I traveled often, and wherever I travel to, I say run my law office, including the preparation of document to file in court. And I do not have the facilities that the federal government has in terms of technology or even business. So that is not a valid argument. Secondly, A lot of
What do you mean it's not a valid? Sorry to interrupt you, but some people will very much agree with Mr. Anene when you see the volumes of hard copy documents which we see, you know, going around government offices or even on television. We're talking about national budget. The president has to physically go and drop the budget. You know, we're talking about files we see physically. Ministers talking about the president treating files in his office. I mean, come on.
So it is not.
Is it not possible that we're...
I gave you a premise.
Yes.
You didn't allow me to explain. You see, it's not a valid argument. First of all, what does the president do? He merely issues directive and on rare occasions signs document. President does not go to ministry. Business does not carry block. President does not report to offices of people. You see, it's a misconception people have, and that is why anytime the president is out of the country, they say governance is down, as if president is involved in some mundane activities. The president, going by the same section of the Constitution, I think 143, 144, or 45, it says the president governs either by himself or through the vice president or ministers of the government of the federation. These are the instruments through which the president administers the Constitution of Nigeria in Nigeria. And so geography is not a yardstick for determining the functions of the president, whether he is in England or whether he is in America. But let me come down to the issue of the budget.
No,
there is
not the budget, because there is. I mean, I cited that as an example. I mean, Nigerians will cite. I think the meat of the matter here is, can the president travel on what we've heard now is a private visit for as long as he's traveled, you know, without transmitting power to the vice president to be acting?
So then I will refer you to the same section of the Constitution cited and referred to by my learned friend here. Whenever the president proceeds on either vacation or he's otherwise unable to perform the functions of his office, the framers of the Constitution contemplated incapacity in terms of either health or maybe the president somehow is held hostage. That is why the transmission of the power is necessary and the vice president can function. Now, when you use the word private or official, whatever is the nomenclature, it is irrelevant. The section he cited says if the president fails to do that, it does not amount to sin, it does not amount to crime, it does not amount to impeachable offense. It only states that when he fails to do that, you have 21 days within which the National Assembly can then act and mandate the vice president to act in the capacity of the president. In other words, as long as the visit of the president does not exceed 21 days, he can do that as many as he wants until the tenure ends. And then I want to bring a rationale.
Isn't that a problem?
No, I'm coming. I want to bring a rationale. Ever since the president took office, this is the first time he made a trip without transmitting the power. On all of the occasions, he transmitted power while traveling. I want to believe that the wisdom behind that is because part of the reason the president traveled might be a sober reflection on the formation of his government in terms of ministers and members of the government in the second term. If the president transmits power and travels abroad, I want to assume that the vice president has all the rights in law to constitute the government. In other words, the vice president within the period can form the cabinet. And so since it is the president...
The cabinet for which government? The one that has not been inaugurated?
The one yes, the one that has not... You woke up in the morning and announce somebody, you reflect, you see CV.
No, what I'm saying is, you mean the vice president can, as acting president, constitute a cabinet for a government that has not yet been inaugurated?
No, you are getting it wrong. What I mean by constituting a cabinet, I am not talking about a situation where you physically bring them together. How do you constitute a committee? You receive resume, you evaluate resume. In some cases, you interview them. You form lists, you come to a conclusion, you announce it, and then you constitute. Assuming within this period, the vice president, I'm just giving an instance, this is a worst case scenario. The vice president decides to appoint people into ministerial position during this period. By law, when the president returns, it will be very, very difficult, and in fact, I may even consider it as unlawful for the president to reverse the decision of the vice president.
How is that possible?
Because, let me learn, because the decision was reached at the time the vice president operate as a president with all of his full powers.
No, I'm wondering how that is possible when you also need the confirmation of the National Assembly, of the Senate.
Oh, we're getting it completely wrong.
You see,
let me finish.
Let Mr. Nene weigh in on this.
No.
Let him wait. No, you can clarify when he... Because he might not be the only one getting out of context. So let him point out the context he's saying it in.
We all are aware
yes,
that this president's government took about 6 months to constitute the cabinet. Now, we are still about a month into the expiration of this government and are talking about constituting a cabinet. It doesn't follow the trend. And Section 145 that I cited said if president proceeds on vacation, not on private visit, vacation, or is unable. So he did not contemplate president proceeding on personal visit, maybe visiting friends and well-wishers. No. Vacation. Vacation is recognized in law. Private visit is not recognized. As far
so
as
maybe that's the reason why.
No, that's what I'm saying. As a Section 1, that is why the transmission of that letter is necessary, because Mr. President is on frivolity. He's on private visit. Private visit. That was what they told us, and not on vacation or unable to perform his functions as a president. Now, he said that it's not in all circumstances that Mr. President signs document. You know the implication of that statement, which means there are so many people who don't know signing the document meant to be signed by the president of Nigeria. That's what he said. No. He said it's not in all circumstances. So you should tell us those circumstances.
What he meant was it's not every day.
It's not about what he meant, it's about what he said.
Every day that the president...
The Executive Council of the Executive Powers of the Federation resides with Mr. President.
What I'm saying is, it's not every day the president signs a document. Is it every day?
No, he said it's not about everyday signing. He said it's not all the documents. There are two different things.
No, that's not what he said.
You can play, but it's not all the documents that Mr. President signed.
And he's here, and
that is where you got it all wrong.
And I think
if you had allowed me.
No, and I want to tell you, I'm still I'm still talking. Now, he also said that the Vice President could constitute cabinet if Mr. President transmits power. So that tells you why they refuse to transmit that power to the National Assembly, so that the good governance will be grounded.
Wrong still.
They are talking about futuristic. I'm talking about now. Okay. I'm talking about what happens between now and in 10 days' time. What happens between now and I'm not talking about a life after May 29. You understand? That's the whole month.
By all means.
First of all, everything he said, I always believe that if somebody doesn't land, it will be difficult for you to be able to either get him right or wrong. I meant, and I said, and it bears repeating, that it is a scenario I painted. When you transmit power and you travel, all of the powers that you have is given to the person. And by law, he can act just as you would have acted if you were in Nigeria. And now, this is a period I said that the president is reflecting on constituting the new government in the second term.
And he needs his powers to reflect on that?
Yes, he needs it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I even referred you to the constitutional provision. I says there is no infraction, there is no violation of the Constitution if you travel as long as you do not exceed 21 days.
Isn't that the loophole the president is exploring here?
It's
because
not.
If you say that this is not a vacation, this is not work, certainly, this is a private visit, we don't know that. I mean, what does that mean? Are you on holiday?
First of all,
or what are you on?
First of all, when you go on vacation, is it official? Is it not private? Mark, where you work here, if you take a leave, your annual vacation, when you travel, does the organization barge into your life wherever you are? You see, the word vacation
that's
means
a problem now.
You're right.
So you say, my organization recognizes that I'm entitled to go on leave. Whatever it is I do during my leave is my business. My organization doesn't recognize private visit, and they will not wonder what to categorize that. Is that a casual leave? Is that, are we going to be deducting it from your leave days? You know, under what precisely does this fall?
So let me now answer. Let me answer that one. Vacation is what the president traveled. His handlers. No. Wait now. When you were talking, I never interjected.
Let him learn.
Vacation. When you travel on vacation, it is a private trip. Matter of choice of words. When you travel on vacation, it's a private trip.
So is this a vacation?
If you choose to use the word...
Vacation is private trip. It's private trip vacation. Private visit. Is it a vacation?
If it is within the vacation period, it is vacation.
Is this a vacation period?
Yes, it's a vacation period.
So the president is on vacation?
Yes, the president is on vacation.
Shouldn't he be transmitting a letter?
Good, that's the point. So he does not have to transmit if he would not exceed the period as required by the Constitution. That's what we're saying.
But why are you taking his words? The presidency stated very clearly that the president is on private visit. And you are taking statement from him to the fact that the president is on vacation. He knows the legal implication of what he's talking about. The Constitution, Section 145, recognizes vacation and Mr. President's failure to perform his functions on ground of ill health. These are the two grounds. So vacation is not private visit. Because private visit is not recognized in law.
Let me just take you to our next matter of discussion then, through this discussion. Do you think then that we should be amending our constitution? Even though some people might say that this is a little frivolous. But I mean, the matter which you're raising, since the president is only away for 10 days and he's written a letter to Nigerians anyway, who are like his major employers. But do you think that because of little loopholes like this, which can be explored, and then the big issue of security, do you think we should be amending our constitution again? Are we due for another amendment, or should we throw it away altogether and write a new one?
Yeah, that's a very nice question. 1999 constitution has so many absurdities and terrible provisions to the extent that no amount of patch constitution, patch by way of amendment or ad hoc measures can cure the defects in 1999 constitution. No amount of patch measures employed by National Assembly can cure the defects in 1999 constitution.
So we should throw it out?
What we need is a brand new constitution. A brand new constitution that the people of Nigeria will come together and agree to give ourselves a constitution. Because if you look at the certain provisions of 1999 constitution, you will weep for Nigeria.
Give example.
I should give example. If you read section 63, I'm coming.
If
you read section, I will give you so many examples. Why we need a new constitution.
We don't have a lot of time.
Now, if you read section 63 of 1999 constitution, he provided that the National Assembly, that's the Senate and the House of Reps, shall sit for a period no less than 180 days. Then section 68 provides that a member shall cease to be a member of the House of National Assembly shall cease to be a member if he fails to sit for one-third of that 181 days. Yeah. That is 60 days. So which means our lawmaker who are paying with our money will sit for 60 days and that's all. And he has met the requirements of the Constitution. Now, if you look at section 144, Section 144 and Section 189 of 1999 Constitution, that provide for the removal of president on ground of e-health. He said the Executive Council of the Federation shall pass a resolution supported by a two-third majority. You are asking the ministers consulted by government, who is now, he now told us that the president is considering a faraway UK or whatever, to pass a resolution supported by a two-third majority to remove him. Is it possible? Now, if you look at
a question that I'm sorry, we have to go on break. When we come back,
I'll tell you why
I will be talking to Mr. Bwala about what he thinks about about a constitution. Should we throw it away? Should we have a new one? In just a moment, please stay with us. It's a moment now with Mr. Daniel Bwala, who's a legal practitioner, and also Mr. Emmanuel Anene, who's also a legal practitioner as well. And we're talking about whether or not we need a new constitution. Mr. Anene says, indeed we do. Mr. Bwala, you don't seem to agree with him.
No, we don't necessarily need a constitutional amendment. And why I asked him earlier to cite example...
There are two different things, a constitutional amendment or a new constitution.
We don't need a new constitution. That's why I asked him the question to give an example, because I wanted to see an example that will require a new constitution.
And I'm giving you the example.
All of the sections he cited
yes.
can literally be amended without having to change the constitution itself. I'm coming. The American government, they have 27 amendments. The last amendment, which was the 27th amendment, was made in 1992. England does not even have a constitution. They have body of laws in different legislatures and they function. The problem we have in Nigeria, to be honest with you, is the implementation of what already exists. And I quite admit, and can even push an argument, that we need major amendments in the Constitution. For example, the creation of state police has come to stay. We cannot drag the argument further because I'm from Borno State and I know how the civilian joint tax, JTF, they call it Joint Tax Force, by the civilian has aided the military and all the law enforcement agencies in the state to curb insurgency. And you find that in other states, Lagos is adopting a strategy that is very useful for them in the maritime, in tax collection and the rest. There are parts of the Constitution we need. Let me tell you, the greatest argument for a new Constitution is the argument for devolution of power. But what they are taking out of context is this fact, that the simple summary of devolution of power is to see how you can tinker with the major items in the exclusive list, give the powers and the resources to the states to run their states, because the complaint is that the states do not have the money to govern themselves. I hold a counter argument, and this is my argument. Section 308 is the reason why we have a problem, and people are calling for a whole new constitution. In fact, the people who control media have so done it in such a way that people's attention has been diverted away from their respective states in demanding their governors to deliver governance, and everybody looks at the president. And the governors are excited about that.
Section 308 is what, talking about
Good.
what?
Now, Section 308 is the immunity granted on the governor from criminal prosecution. Now, there is no governor in Nigeria, and there is no state in Nigeria from 1999 till today, that after the tenure of the governor, the resources of the governor has not been called to question. And when EFCC do their findings, the kind of ridiculous amount you hear, if they exist and were deployed in the state, there won't be cry for resources because the monies would have been enough to take care of some of the problems.
From Section 1, we already have a problem that the Constitution itself is a lie. Which, when
preamble, that's preamble to the Constitution.
Preamble is not Section 1.
We, the people of Nigeria, having agreed to give ourselves concern. You cited in America. In America, the resources of states in America are owned by the states and not by the federal government. Now, how do you reconcile this position now? If you read Section 84,
you're already doing your closing.
No, Section 84 of the 1999 Constitution. It gives Mr. President and the Vice President pension. An annual rate to be the incumbent president. If you read Section 125,
so because of this,
125,
so you simply amend the Constitution.
We need a new Constitution. There is no amendment in this Constitution that can cure the defect. If you read Section 1, that preamble to the Constitution, it told lie about Nigerian. If you read Section 44, Section 4, he said the resources are owned by federal government. If you read the land use decree, he said the governors own the land, the federal government own the resources, the mineral resources, the state government own the land. Then if you go to Zamfara,
what makes you think it cannot be amended?
Well, I know that this debate is going to go on and on.
125.
We have to go. We have to go. I have to apologize to you.
No.
We cut short your time a little. We took quite a bit of your time. But, you know, I know that this argument, even if we had 1 hour, it will still go on and on. But we have to thank our gentlemen in the studio this morning. I've had a good time speaking with you guys. We had in the studio with us Mr. Daniel Boala, who is a legal practitioner and a member of Lincoln's Inn London. And we also had with us Mr. Emmanuel Anene, who is a legal practitioner as well. Thank you again for coming. That's the program this morning. Thank you for watching. I'm Mark Welgon Yusuf. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I'm Chamberlain in the Saw.
You know, with Bola and then with Anene, what a match, I would say.
I am Akide here saying have a wonderful day.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.